everybody, welcome back to Crafting and Crime Daily. This is the show where I, your host Rebecca, am recapping live trials so you have something to listen to while you're crafting. And you don't have to listen to the actual trial because it lasts for hours and hours and hours and hours. So currently covering 2 trials. As fun as that is to do over the weekend, I'm covering the trial of Maya Kowalski, where her family, Maya, her brother Kyle, and her dad Jack are suing Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital in Pinellas County, Florida. That's over near Tampa on the west coast of Florida, where apparently they do not celebrate Columbus Day, because on the east coast of Florida, down in Palm Beach County, where we are covering the trial of Timothy Ferreter for the child abuse of his son Ronan Ferreter, who was 14 at the time, they're off today celebrating Columbus Day. Now, leave me a comment. How do you celebrate Columbus Day? Is there a parade? Is there a color? And why are we celebrating it on one coast of Florida and not the other coast? I don't know. All right, but I will tell you what happened in the Kowalski case last week. So I think I covered as much as I could. The Kowalski case is a very difficult case to cover. First of all, it's not a criminal case; it's a civil case. And before and I'm not going to say all trials go this way, because I've never had a trial go like this one does. But here's what they're doing: the judge hears argument on evidence before the witness takes the stand that's going to bring that evidence in. You bring in evidence through witnesses. It could be pictures, it could be video, it could be medical records, whatever. But so they have this argument beforehand. And sometimes the judge wants to see that he wants to hear what the testimony is going to be. So then you have to bring in the witness to lay the foundation of how this evidence is relevant, how it's not hearsay. There's all kinds of objections that could be made by the defense and that are being made by the defense. And so it just makes for a really long day for the jury, and they're doing it outside the presence of the jury for the most part. So the jury may only be there for half a day, full day. Yeah. So I went back to see what I had missed, and I don't think I missed a lot, to be honest with you, except for the argument over evidence. But I did find a pediatric neurologist that had testified. Now, he testified he was a treating pediatric neurologist. What am I working on? You want to know? You want to know? I am putting in the last few drills. Remember, I ran out of my Crafting and Crime Daily logo painting. I finally got I ordered a frame that came in. So I'm going to put these drills in and get that frame. Get it framed, put it up here. So tomorrow, when you come tomorrow to hear the show, that will be here. This I cleaned off over the weekend. You guys, do you want to see? I'll show you. Here we go. Look. Oh, it's organized. Elmo's leaving. Bye, Elmo. Bye. The rest of the stuff I may just move. We got the alpaca there. Yeah. And we named my turtle over the weekend Slowpoke. Thank you, Sue, for the name. Oh my God. I just love the colors on that. That blue, the green. So pretty. He holds my pens. He's not happy about it, but he does it. I put all my little things in there, and then I forget where I put them. I'll be looking for pens and tweezers. I'll be like, where did they go? Slowpoke took them. Yeah. All right, let's talk about Maya Kowalski. So this pediatric neurologist, first of all, I think I told you the other day, pediatric neurologists are very difficult to find. Very difficult. So, because it's just such a subspecialty, and they make so much money. And this guy, at the time he was treating Maya Kowalski, had no hospital affiliations. He later on became affiliated with Arnold Palmer Hospital, but at the time he was treating her in 2015. He had no hospital affiliations. Now, when he started treating Maya in this was February of 2016, so after the 2015 trip to Mexico for the ketamine coma to help her chronic or complex regional pain syndrome, which this doctor said is really difficult. Really difficult. It's a very rare diagnosis, and it can come about by trauma. They think Maya's came about by a ankle injury during gymnastics. Now, some some people agree with that, some people don't. Some people say we don't know how it started, but some of the records reflect that she did have an ankle injury during gymnastics, and that may have been the start of it. But in any case, this doctor pointed out it's not curable. This has no cure. It has places where it will go into remission, but it is very difficult. It's not easily curable. And he said, "What the way you know that this is it is that they can't really localize the pain. Like they can't express, oh, my elbow hurts. No, it's just they have this generalized pain that can't be attributable to one body part or another. And hers was mostly in her legs, some in her arms, but mostly in her legs. And it's usually very difficult for these people to describe their pain." So mom had this successful ketamine coma down in Mexico, and she was asking this pediatric neurologist, "Hey, can you do that here?" And he's like, "Nope, can't." And he explained to the jury why he couldn't. He says, it did not, I did not get the impression that he was against the treatment, not one bit. But he says, I don't have the resources to administer this treatment. First of all, he said it's not approved by the FDA in this country, and this is why she went to Mexico. Second of all, resources. You need a nurse to monitor the patient. You need equipment to monitor the patient. You need a place to put the patient. You need an anesthesiologist. Yeah, you need an entire team as well as a facility to carry this out. And he just didn't have those kind of resources. But he was calling around to other colleagues to see if any of them had done it or do it. You know, just because it's not FDA approved doesn't mean it's not getting done. Some people might still do it. It just means it's not FDA approved. That's all it means. So he didn't find anybody though. Nobody among his colleagues was doing it, but he believed mom Beata about the Mexico thing. Because when you go to a new doctor, and the first thing you do is you sit down. Why do I keep finding places where there's missing drills? I know I'm squirreling. So when you go to a new doctor, you sit down with them or someone in their office, and they go over your medical history. And they take your word for it. They don't send out medical records to find out if what you were telling them is true or if you're making that up. I'll tell them I have depression, anxiety, high blood pressure, obstructive sleep apnea. What else? They don't go, oh, well, do you have proof of that? No. You can get the medical records where I also told somebody else I had that. You know, this is how diagnoses carry over from one provider to another. Not everybody is diagnosing the diagnosis or coming up with the diagnosis. And this is what happened in this case. Beata took her daughter to see this physician, this pediatric neurologist, and he asked about her history, and she gave him. He said she was a very good historian. She gave him the information about chronic regional pain syndrome, complex regional pain syndrome, that this was diagnosed in her daughter in 2015. She'd been for this ketamine coma. So he was trying to find solutions for this child. And he said, hey, have you tried IVIG, which is intravenous immunoglobulin, which works on the immune system? There have been some people that have had success with this. Some CRP patients have had success with this. So they tried it. They set it up to have once a month in 2016. So she was getting these treatments and once a month. But then Beata wanted them to go to every 3 weeks because she was saying that it would take too long for them to take effect and then the effect would wear off. So she was trying to get them closer together to sort of maintain the status quo instead of this roller coaster that her daughter was on with the pain. I understand that. So I think he had initially said no, he couldn't do it without him seeing her daughter. And he said, he told the jury that's really just for insurance purposes. Insurance is not going to pay for a change in the prescription for the treatment, the IVIG treatment, unless I see the patient. And I feel like there's a reason for this change. But he went ahead and changed it because rather than have them come for 2.5 hours it took for them to get to where this pediatric neurologist was, he just went ahead and proved it. That changed to every 3 hours. Now, here is the kicker. When she gets hospitalized at Johns Hopkins, nobody calls the pediatric neurologist. Nobody calls the pediatrician, her treating pediatrician, her treating pediatric neurologist. Nobody calls them. And that's just inexcusable. Like, I understand you don't believe Beata. Okay. It's a rare disease. I get it. But why wouldn't you call the treating physicians and find out? You've dealt with this mother before. Tell us about your interactions with this mother. Tell us about your treatment of this diagnosis. Who made the diagnosis? That kind of thing. Nope, nobody made that phone call. Yeah. So they are having trial today, like I said. No, it's not a Columbus Day in Pinellas County, just on the East Coast where the boy in the box trial is. So they, as we speak, Maya Kowalski is taking the stand. Yeah. I don't know if she's the last witness. I don't know if they're going to call more witnesses. I would think they still have way more witnesses, experts, things like that. I'm pretty sure they do. But they're putting Maya on the stand today, and I will make sure I bring you the highlights of that tomorrow. Now, I want to talk to you about this boy in the box testimony. This was a really, really difficult testimony on Friday. Just before the state rested their case, they played hours of this boy being in the box. The ring camera footage. Now it's all motion activated, so they started on January 15th and they kept, I don't know how far they went with it. I listened while I was cleaning, I was listening because you could hear mom coming in the morning and they would just play it because like I said, it's motion activated. So if there's nothing going on, you're not seeing anything on the footage, and then it would skip to next time it's activated, the camera, and you would see a timestamp. So he's sitting on the one time when he didn't go to school that day. After mom gets him up in the morning, let me backtrack. Mom or dad gets him up in the morning. Hey, how you doing? How was your sleep? Really weird. How'd you sleep? How do you think I slept? I'm on a mattress on the floor. How do you think I slept? Terrible. Thanks to you. Um, no, I'm being bad. So, did you have to use the bucket? Okay, you need to go clean that. Now, his mom, a little nicer tone than dad. Dad always had this angriness towards this child, always this underlying anger towards this kid. I don't know what this kid did to him to make him so angry. So, in any case, uh, mom would say, or mom or dad, well, you need to go clean the bucket and go dump it out by the bush. Don't let the neighbors see you doing it. And, okay. So then he'd come back and they tell him, go get dressed for school, go get your shower, do your homework, and So he would do it. And if there was no school that day, they'd bring a breakfast sandwich, peanut butter and bread and some fruit. Remember, there was that testimony. And then he would sit there the rest of the day. So some of the activity that the jury saw in the room was there was one time where he got really angry and he tore all of his posters off the wall and he was, throwing things around. And then, of course, when Dad came in, he's like, "Here's what the judge said," and I thought it was a very fitting description of what was going on. Repetitive and persistent berating. Yeah, more so Dad than Mom, but she was, going along with it. Repetitive and persistent berating. And this kid put up with it until he didn't. Apparently, this was not the first time he had run away in January, because the dad references, oh, you think you can run away. He mentions that he used the name Richard. You're calling yourself Richard. Um, yeah, he's saying that you impersonated a teacher. What else did he do? I don't know, all kinds of things that he had done. That's why he was being punished, apparently, by being put in this box. But anyway, the jury had to listen to this for an hour, hours, 3.5 to 4 hours of this footage, after which the state rested their case. Then the defense attorney, with a straight face, not the female attorney who is really good. Yeah, I mean the other attorney's really good, but different attorneys have different roles. Her role was to ask questions of the witnesses and stuff. His role is more of an appellate role where uh, he went ahead of in front of the judge and asked for a judgment of acquittal, which is what happens. I always tell you this happens at the end of the state resting their case. Defense will come up and they will move for judgment of acquittal. They'll say, "Hey, the state didn't make their case," and he's right. In this case, there's 3 counts. The first count is aggravated child abuse. Now, there is child abuse as a lesser included offense. Child abuse as a lesser included offense does not involve great bodily injury. But in aggravated child abuse, there are 4 ways to get to aggravated child abuse. 3 of the 4 ways require great bodily injury, and not apparently the legal definition of that does not include mental illness, anything mentally that this child might have sustained as a result of being locked in this box. So, however, the third prong of this aggravated child abuse is that they can get that there by showing that this was a torturous situation and he was caged. So obviously it was a torturous situation. The, the defense pointed out that, as far as being caged, he really wasn't caged because, the jury just heard hours of all of this. And most of the time, he wasn't locked in the room. You didn't hear them putting a lock on the room. And the judge says, well, that doesn't mean he wasn't caged. If he felt like he couldn't, like he just had to sit there and not go out that door because of a punishment he might receive, that's the same as being caged. In my book, too. I think so, too. So, both sides agree that as a result of the child abuse here, there was no, what do they call it, permanent disability or disfigurement that resulted from anything that the parents did or didn't do. They agreed on that. So the judge granted the judgment of acquittal as to count 1, 3 of the 4 prongs. So the only thing that will go to the jury is, was this a tortious a situation where the child was caged? And I think there's reason they could find that, and so did the judge. So that will go to the jury. I don't know how the defense was keeping a straight face. They're like, but, Your Honor, it was for educational purposes. What? The defense tried to argue that every time he did something bad in his life, the consequence was for him to be in this box and something to get taken away from him, to the point where he had nothing left. This this kid must have been very, very mischievous. Well, he was. We know some of the things that he did, like making an announcement about his sister, to the whole school. That was a little uncalled for. Yeah, but that's not how you parent a child. I'm sorry. It's just not. The wife's trial, she is in the courtroom, and she's allowed to be in the courtroom as long as she is not a witness. She's out on bond. She's not in custody. And she does talk with her husband. They talk during the proceedings. Now, the judge, she was never introduced to the jury, but I think the jury has figured out this is her because they heard her on the ring camera footage. I'm sure they heard her, they saw her on the ring camera footage. Now, I don't know why the judge is not showing it to us. I guess they don't want us to recognize this kid. He's 16 now. That must be why because he was telling the media the other day that, nothing in this case is sealed. You'll have access to everything once this case is over. I don't know if that means this ring camera footage. I don't know. By then, who cares? I don't want to see it then. I wanted to see it now. I wanted to know, what I'm listening to for 3.5 hours. I listened to it, and you could hear when the boy lost his temper and he's throwing things around and he's screaming and hollering because he wants out. At one point, he's screaming, and finally his mom comes and he's like, I gotta go to the bathroom. So she let him out to go to the bathroom, and then she put him back in. Yep, pretty sad. Now, there are some other cases that are coming up here in the future. In January of 2023, we're going to get the case of, what was it? I had it in my head. Oh, Jennifer Crumley and Ethan. No, Ethan is their son. Jennifer and James Crumley. Oh my gosh, they're going to trial in January. Now, Ethan is going to be sentenced in December. He was the Oxford school shooter up in Michigan. He took a 9mm weapon, went into the Oxford school, high school, shot 4 kids, murdered four kids, injured 7 others. His parents were arrested within days of this incident, and they were attempting to flee, go up to Canada rather than be arrested. Well, their trial was pending the Supreme Court. They had moved the Supreme Court a motion to dismiss this case, saying that there was no law that governed bad parenting. Basically, they're arguing bad parenting. That there's nothing that they did that caused the murder of these kids. Now, but the Supreme Court said no. They refused to hear it. Nope, we're not going to hear it. And that's their right. If they don't want to hear something, then you know what? You got yourself a trial. So they're going to have the trial for that in January. Jennifer and James Crumley. Um, well, where a jury will be asked to decide, hey, did something you did or didn't do cause the death or injury of those children? And I'm going to say yes, because I know. I mean, I know the rest of the facts. A lot of you know the rest of the facts. The fact that they were called, mom was called to the school, both parents were called to the school, and they left him there, and then he murdered those kids later the same day. Instead of taking him for mental health treatment, they went back to work, and they left him there with a gun in his backpack that they purchased for him. There's no question that this was his gun that they bought him for Christmas. A hell of a Christmas present. Yeah. If you're thinking about getting your kids something for Christmas, I would stay away from the weapons. I really would. Yeah. Leave the guns behind. Just saying. Okay. What else is going on? Oh, I finally finished watching season 2 of the Murdoch Murders on Netflix. I'm thinking, what are they going to show me that I have not already seen? Netflix did a very good job. It's only 3 episodes, season 2, 3 episodes. And there was some stuff that I hadn't seen. They kind of made a chronology out of everything. They did everything chronologically, but then they had interviews with people like Curtis Eddie Smith, um, who flatly denies I was not his drug dealer. I wasn't his drug dealer. They interviewed Paul's girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, Paul's best friend, who was Mallory Beach's boyfriend, but he still was Paul's best friend. Or what? Paul's best friend. Paul had a lot of best friends. Paul was very, very well liked, despite the boat crash. He was very, very well liked. And after they did this whole thing sort of chronologically, the murders made sense. Not that it made sense to kill them, but I understood. Because I guess I've never really believed that he did it. In my back of my head, I've always thought he had to have had help. All these people believe that too, that he had to have had help. And I still might believe that, but it hadn't really sunk in that he murdered his wife and son. Like, why would you do that? But after, they have a crime scene, the guy that took the stand and reconstructed the crime scene, he talks about what he thought happened. And all of it just kind of came together for me after they put it together in these 3 episodes. So if you get a chance, check those out. Um, I didn't think I'd be interested, but I really was. I really was. There was information that I just hadn't heard it the way they presented it. I guess I've heard all the information, but the way it was presented, they even interviewed the court clerk, Ms. Becky. Yeah. They interviewed Miss Mag. No, not Miss Maggie. Maggie was the one that was murdered. What was the name of the housekeeper? That met the housekeeper, and then the black woman that was taking care of mom. What was her name? Miss something or other. Everybody's Miss something or other. But she's the one that refused to say he was there 30, 45 minutes. She's like, no, you were only there 20 minutes. 20 minutes. And she was very much afraid when she took the stand, and everybody was very uh, happy about her bravery. They started a GoFundMe for her, and I don't know if you remember her. Anyway, all right, that's the show for today, guys. I'm going to finish up this painting, get it framed, put it up there so y'all can see it tomorrow. Have a wonderful Monday, and I will see you. Bye.